Okay, so if we were to set up this problem and we were going to use long division in order to solve this problem, there's a couple of things that we would need to be aware of. So this right here is known as the divisor. This under this symbol right here is known as the dividend. This symbol right here actually has a name. It is called the vinculum. Vinculum. Now, that's probably the first time you've ever heard that word referred to. But we don't really, mathematically speaking, it has a name. It is called the vinculum. So you have your divisor, your dividend, the vinculum, and then up here is where your quotient will go. The quotient will go up here. And it is our hope that this problem turns out to be without a remainder, and therefore we can identify easily what one of the factors is. If we get a remainder of 0, then we know that x plus 7 was in fact a factor of the dividend. Step number 1. When setting up your long division, make sure that you have a placeholder for every power. If your polynomial is a third root, is raised to the third power, then you want to have a 3, a 2, a 1, and then a constant. Okay? So you want to make sure that your divisor as well as your dividend has every power. So you can see that the divisor goes from a power of 1 to a constant, so it has every power. So I'm basically looking at the first item and the first item. The first item of the dividend is x to the third. The first item of the divisor is x. So if I were to take x to the third and divide it by x, I would get x squared. So that would be my first part that I put above the vinculum and begin to multiply, just like you would have done back in elementary school. X squared times x is x to the third. X squared times 7 is plus 7x squared. Then you're going to draw a line and you're going to subtract. So this is very important here because oftentimes people forget that when you are subtracting, you must distribute the subtraction sign to both. So these two will cancel out, and I will be left with 6x squared minus 7x squared, which is negative 1x squared. Now I'm going to bring down the next term in my polynomial. And then I start over again. I look at the leading term, which is negative 1x squared, and I want to divide it by the leading term over in my divisor, which is x. So negative 1x squared divided by x, that reduces to negative x. So that is part of my quotient, so negative x. And then I'm going to do the same thing here that I did with the x squared, except these arrows are going to be going from here to here, and then from here to here. So x times negative x is negative 1x squared. Negative x times 7 is negative 7x. Then I draw a line, and now I'm going to subtract. So once again, this is oftentimes where the mistake is made. If you are subtracting, you have to distribute that negative sign to both of these items down here in the polynomial. So that means that this would become a plus because minus a negative, and that this would become a plus. So I get into the habit of saying this little phrase: draw a line and change the sign. Draw a line and change the sign. Then when you combine, this cancels out, and negative 5x squared plus 7x, well, that becomes positive 2x, and then I'm going to bring down my next factor. And once again, I start over. 2x divided by x is simply 2. So that's going to be part of my quotient up here. So 2 times x, and then once again, we're doing the same thing as we've done each time before, except these arrows are just going to be a little bit longer. We're just going to be distributing the 2 to each of those two things over there. So it's 2 times x, which is 2x, and 2 times 7, which is 14. Draw a line, change the signs. Draw a line, change the signs. Okay, so this cancels out, and this cancels out, which is fantastic. That's exactly what we wanted. We wanted a remainder of 0. If you have a remainder of 0, then what that simply means is that x plus 7, which is the divisor, times the quotient, which is what we ended up with as our answer, is equal to the dividend, which was the x cubed plus 6x squared minus 5x plus 14. So here is my divisor. This is my quotient with no remainder, and this is my dividend. Now I'm in a position to find the additional factors by either using quadratic formula, factoring, completing the square, or graphing, although I don't think graphing would be very accurate.